Hi, I'm Jennifer Cody. Welcome to From the Land to the Table. Today we are going to cook up some black bean enchiladas. If you've done some of these things ahead of time, you can actually pull some black bean mix out of your freezer and whip this whole meal up really quick. Anyway, so on a day when you have more time, you need 3 or 4 cups of onions. So what we're going to do, this knife is great. It's big and the blade means you can keep your fingers behind it, and you can actually get kind of crazy with this and get faster and faster and still have all your fingers. It's a good deal. It's also cheap. You can go to an Asian market and get one of these for under $20. So, I mean, it's practically all you need. And it's quick. Okay, we're going to put this into our pan, and that means I'm going to use this pan, which it looks like a small pan, but the beauty of this is these onions are going to sweat. And if you put a little bit of onion in a big pan, it gets kind of burnt faster. Now we're going to turn this on. Get these going, and we need about 3 or 4 tablespoons of olive oil in there. Okay, I'm going to let that cook for a while, and in the meantime I'm going to tell you a little bit about the garlic. You can get a jar of minced garlic, and that's okay, but I don't trust myself to know, is it still fresh after how long in my fridge. So what I do is I get some peeled garlic cloves and I put them in my blender or processor and chop them up really, really fine. And then I put a little olive oil in here, press the garlic that's already pureed into here and freeze it. And then this is what you get. You get these little, this is like a half tablespoon, little portions of the frozen garlic to use. Okay, so here, as you can see, the little ice cube thingers, they just soften right up into the whole mix, and we are going to stir these. You don't have to stir them a lot, but every now and then, we let them cook for a while. They've got a way to go. I started some black beans. I brought a pot of water to a boil, about 2 quarts of water in here, and that just makes it easier. When I add my pound of black beans, you can get a 1-pound bag of black beans, and I added them to the boiling water. Let it come up to a boil again on high, which you only have to stand there for a few minutes and it'll get back up to a boil. And then you can simmer it and just forget about it. Pretty much forget about it for an hour or 2 until the beans are done. If the water isn't boiling, you have to stand there and watch it and make sure it doesn't bubble over, but this kind of makes you have to babysit them a little less. So once they've been hot and simmered for a couple hours, you just want to check up on them, see how they're. Now these are good. These are done. Dump them into the strainer, and these beans are great. There is no fat in these beans. There's protein. And anytime you read something new about nutrition, they'll tell you the same thing, that the more natural the food is, the closer it is to the way God made it, the better it is for you. Go figure. It makes sense. So what we're going to do now, we're actually going to mash the beans. But I don't like to get my Cuisinart dirty if I don't have to. And it's going to be easier to do this. I'm going to grab my mitt and a plastic bag. And what I'm going to do is just mash them like this. I'm just going to mash these beans up, and just gives them a better texture. You can make chili out of this, and that's about how they don't have to be completely mashed. That's good. And now we're done with that. Okay, we're going to move on now. I think I'll move this. Oh wait, the beans are done, and we're going to add some more stuff to them. It's going to be smelling good in here. We're going to turn on this Whoop, there we go. Okay, we're gonna get this pan good and hot, and that might take a little while. If you have a husband in the house, you know the pan's hot enough when he says, "What's going in there? It's smoking." Then you know it's hot. I'm gonna just wait, and this will get hotter. We're gonna add some spices to it. While it's getting hot, I'm going to get the spices together for this. Some sweet basil, some oregano, and cumin seed. All right, whole cumin seed is good. And we're gonna need a 1/4 cup of the basil and the oregano, and a couple tablespoons of these seeds. Okay, and the cumin seed, well, pronounce it how you like. I'm going to say cumin seed, and 2 tablespoons of that. Now, I would highly recommend that if you're able to, go to a health food store and get these herbs in bulk even, and you'll save yourself a lot of money. This is what is going to add a lot of flavor. You know, the black beans by themselves are just, you're not going to want to eat them. They're not very exciting, but we're fixing this up. It's going to be tasting good, and I mean, I eat meat, you know, anytime, whatever, but I also eat vegetarian because there is a lot of healthy stuff going on with vegetarian food. You can add chicken to this meal today if you want, but I'm gonna eat it without. Okay, so anyway, we've got our herbs going on here. The pan is still heating up. So while we're killing some time waiting for that pan, we're gonna get a few more things for the black bean mix. We're gonna get some tomato paste, and this recipe calls for 8 tablespoons, 1/2 cup. This can is 10 tablespoons, but that's okay. We're gonna set some aside. One thing you might find out is tomato paste does not keep really well in the refrigerator, and so I freeze what's ever left over. And it's amazing, a little blob of tomato paste freezes great, and it won't go bad on you. And you can use it for some pasta dish, when you're just making dinner for 2, a soup, when you just need a little bit. But we're making a big batch of this today. So, and I kind of have fun with this. I'm gonna take a little bit of this out, but this is a great way to open a can. You just go like that. And got that going on. And we're going to take a little out of there and save it for later. I don't need quite that much tomato paste. I'm just going to take out about 2 tablespoons and whoop, put this in the freezer. Okay, you know what? I think that pan is smoking. So we are going to put the herbs in, and this, oh, you can hear them crackling. I'm going to use this spatula, and you stir these around. This brings out all the flavor, and just keep stirring them just for a few minutes while they get toasty. They're looking good. They're getting browner, and now, whoa, when you smell that smell, it's just really intense. You know they're done. A little bit longer. Okay, we're talking. That looks good. We're going to put these into the pot of beans over here. And, all right, that is looking good. We've got a lot of good stuff in here right now. We have the tomato paste, we've got the herbs, the beans. The onions are coming along. We're going to add a little more coloring and flavoring to that. And that means we're going to add some paprika and a little bit of cayenne. You can add more cayenne if you want. And that would be, okay, we're going to put a tablespoon of paprika in there. And we are going to take a 1/4 teaspoon, not a lot, of this cayenne to add a little bit of heat to that. And now I don't put a lot of salt in my food, so I add it later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the salt out, but you can put a tablespoon of salt in if you want. Okay, now if you check it out, our onions are looking really good. This is what you want. And as you can see, it started with a really full pan, and it just shrinks down. And they're golden and they're sweet. They've got a bunch of flavor. We're going to dump this into the black bean mix. And then we have just about everything we need into this pot of black beans. And it's not just black beans anymore. It's going to be good. And I'm just going to move this back. We're going to get that pan hot for another purpose. I've got to mix this stuff up here. And this is what's the filling for our enchiladas. Yeah, this has got the black beans. It's got sauteed onion and garlic. It's got those toasted herbs, the oregano, basil, cumin seed. Don't worry about it if you're short on one of those ingredients. Just whatever you put in there, it'll be good. Some paprika, some cayenne, maybe some salt. That's mixed up. We're going to sear some corn tortillas. The searing them in a little olive oil, it makes the texture good. It's not kind of, it's got a good texture that way, and the flavor comes out, and it's just really good. So our bean mix is done. I'm just going to set that aside. And I've got this other pan started. It's getting hot. We are putting some tortillas in there, and we're going to sear them in some olive oil, and that just kind of makes the texture good. Otherwise they get kind of wrinkly and funny looking. But we're going to do the tortillas, and what we're going to do is we're going to lay them out on this board. I used to have a sandwich business. That's how I started out in this whole thing. I would make hundreds of burritos every morning, and like 2 in the morning, wake up, feed the baby, start making burritos. And I learned how to get a production thing going on. So that's what we're going to do with this. We're just making 10, but we are going to lay them out and make this quick. Okay, so now we're gonna do up 10 of these. I'm gonna just save a couple for tostadas later in the week, dinner for 2. So what we're going to do here is add a little olive oil and get these going, cook them up a little. The pan's hot, just kind of a little on each side. Kind of need a little more olive oil on each side. Just kind of get a pattern going on here. Get that side done. And these are cooking. I just keep putting a little more olive oil on each of these, and you might wonder, whoa, is that fattening or what? I'm saying I think it's good for you, and it just brings out the flavor of stuff. I mean, you want to eat healthy food, but you want it to taste good, and a little bit of oil really adds to the flavor. So now here we've got our little production going on. We're going to add the black bean mix to these and roll these up and put them in the pan. And about 1/3 of a cup or so in each one. This is going to make a lot of food, but we're just going to have a lot of people over, and we're going to polish this off. You do not have to make this much. Like I said, if you have that frozen black bean mix in your freezer, one night you can just make up a few of these at a time. I'm just going to make this worth my while today because I know there's a lot of hungry people around today, and we're all going to eat some of this. So we're just going to get this going on. Now we actually have some left over. I'm going to portion that up and put that in my freezer, and it'll be good for another day. Okay, so what we're going to do here, I just want to show you how easy this is. You do not have to get a seal meal, but you know, my mom has one. They're cool. I'm usually too busy, so I just go like this, and I put a bunch of these in the freezer, and in a box or something, just freeze serving size portions like this. And then on one of those days when it's been busy, we have an instant meal. We can make chili out of these. We can make enchilada. We can make burritos, throw in rice and what have you. Pretty versatile. Just add water if you're making chili. Okay, I'm just gonna put some of these serving sizes. I'll actually put a bunch of these up and just put this in the freezer, and it will keep for months, at least a couple, and be just really fresh and easy to thaw. I take the plastic wrap off, put them in a bowl, and microwave that a couple minutes, and add some hot water for chili, throw it into whatever I want to do. You know, I was thinking about black beans, and you know, on this show we're talking about the black bean enchiladas, and we're starting with this thing that's really hard, and you really wouldn't want to eat black beans as they come, you know, hard and not edible. But through the processes, you cook them in the water. And I just thought, you know, that's what God does to us. We start out as a simple person, you know, ordinary life, and God transforms us. You know, all we have to do with those beans is put them in a pot with water. We don't have to do anything elaborate, and they become something to bless us. We can be fed with these beans. But, you know, with God, He's like that too. He does this thing that He does, and it's simple, and yet it transforms us from being something hard and not really worth anything to anybody else. He just transforms our life, and I thought, that is just awesome. I wanted to be able to mention to you some of the things that, you know, I've found out about God in my life, because it's not just about the food. If it was just about the food, you know, is that all there is to life? It's more than that. We need food for our stomachs, and yet that never really totally satisfies us. It's the food for the soul that really, you know, can really give us complete satisfaction, you know, quench our thirst. And God provides that. So, I mean, I want to help people eat food, you know, and create food that's good for our stomachs. It is a blessing from God, but He's the one that really blesses us. Okay, we're just going to be rolling these up and putting them in the pan. A 13 by 9 inch Pyrex dish is good. And we'll put 10, well, we had 10 of these. The crew got a little hungry. We got 9 now, but that's all right, still gonna work. We're gonna make some sauce for this. So what we're gonna do is, we're making our own red sauce. And I did experiment. I was trying to duplicate a really excellent sauce I tasted at a Mexican restaurant in LA. And I looked at recipes that called for tomato sauce, and the flavor was not what I wanted. I wanted this same sauce. And what I found was, I used paprika for the color. It's a red sauce. The flavor is excellent. And the tomatoes don't compete with the other flavor that you want to stand out. So for that we're starting with some chicken stock. Now, you might wonder where the chicken stock comes from. It does not have to come in a carton, you know, juice box type carton. It doesn't have to come in a can. You can make your own, and it's really not that hard. I made this. I'm going to warm it up in the microwave. Woo. This is going to save us some time. The chicken stock is warming up. And another thing you need to know, what I am showing you is actually easy. You just have to know how to do it. This does not take that long. We're going to put some paprika and chili blend in this pot, and some flour. There's a lot of steps you can take to save yourself a little time. putting up a little bit of flour like this is really handy. It's much easier to grab for just a small amount than grabbing the big bag of flour or whatever. So we're going to put some flour in. That's 1/3 cup. And we are going to put tablespoon. We are going to put a tablespoon of paprika. This is giving it the red sauce color and a little flavor. It's good. I made my own label. This is my chili blend. You can tell it didn't come from the store because I did a little research. I'm going to put in 1 to 2 tablespoons, maybe a little more than 1. Okay, I did a little research, and chili powder is basically cumin powder, paprika, garlic powder, and a little bit of cayenne. And you mix that all together and you've got chili powder, only it costs a lot more. And maybe they put sugar in it, maybe they put MSG. I don't want that, so I make my own. You don't have to make your own, but you might want to think about it because it's cheaper and better. So we're making the sauce, and we've got the flour. It thickens it up. We've put our chili blend, our paprika. We can put a little salt in. I don't mind some salt. I just don't use a lot, but about a teaspoon of salt. And the thing about paprika, you can't just add paprika to liquid. It'll lump up on you, and it'll be really hard to make your sauce smooth. You want it to be sauce, not lumps. So right now it's looking good. And we could measure the olive oil, but I can just tell you we need about 1/3 cup. And basically we put in 1/3 cup of flour, you put in 1/3 cup of olive oil to kind of make this mix good. It's mixing good. We need a little more olive oil. That wasn't probably quite 1/3 cup. Okay, so this is nice and smooth. Basically our flour, our spices, and chicken stock. Olive oil first, so it mixes good. And the chicken stock, you do not have to use chicken stock. It will still be good. I've made it with water and it's still good. What we do, I add a little bit of the stock so this can get nice and smooth. But talk about easy. I mean, and it's nice and not lumpy. You just get this going. It's going to thicken up because the stock is already hot. Okay, this is looking good. Once it's smooth, you can add the rest of the stock. Now the recipe calls for 3 cups. I actually only had 2 there. I'm going to just use this burner. This is ready to get going, get boiling. And I still do need to add another cup of water. I did only add 2 cups of stock because that's all I had handy, but the flavor was so good. And you know, if you don't have stock, you can add water. So I'll add a little more to make up for having no 3 cups of stock. And it's getting to just about the right consistency. I'm going to set the timer. I've got a timer. This has to boil 2 minutes, or you don't get rid of that. You know, you want the flour to cook all the way and to thicken it up all the way. So 2 minutes. I'm adding boiling water to this so it doesn't cool it off too much, so it keeps cooking. And I have to stand here less time mixing it up. If you started with cold stock, you'd have to stand here and mix this a lot longer. So, you know, I mean, who has time for all this stuff? We're trying to get this meal going on. So start with your hot stuff, and it saves you time. That's gonna be timing. I'm gonna turn it down, and we're almost there. Okay, we're pouring on the sauce. It's looking good. Gonna kind of spread it around, and Then we are topping it with cheese. I'm just gonna get a few more slices here. We're gonna put this on, and you don't really need to have your cheese grated because it's going in the oven. It's gonna melt. Nobody's gonna know that it was just slices. Okay, just for fun, I'm gonna throw in a little bit. This is just my crazy side coming. I like to just, when this melts, it looks kind of cool because got these angles going on here, kind of fun. You don't have to do that, but there we go. Some cheddar cheese, some jack cheese. That's about, you know, almost a pound there. Okay, we're gonna put this in the oven and at about 375 for 20 minutes or so. Okay, I think those enchiladas are ready. We're gonna get them out. Ooh, this looks good. And now it can look even better. We're just gonna garnish it. Get a little sour cream and a little cilantro. And this is gonna look as good as it's gonna taste. I'm gonna dish some of this up. And there's one right there. Okay. Ooh, and it's hot. There we go. Okay. You can add a little guacamole, avocado, you name it. I'm just gonna use some sour cream. Oh, well, yeah, I'm being healthy. I'll just use a little bit. And I did rinse this. The cilantro can be a little grainy sometimes, so I just rinsed it after I got it at the store. Put a couple sprigs of that on. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna grab a bite of this. Just make sure this is gonna be all right. It's probably really hot too. Check this out. Okay, this is a winner. And we're gonna have a good meal tonight. And you can put this on the table, add your garnish, your sour cream, your cilantro, and it's gonna look great, it's gonna taste good. That's all the time we have for today, but I'm gonna show you next time what we can serve with this. A nice light green salad. I've got some tricks for that, how to make it nice and simple. And we'll be back with you next time. Thanks for watching From the Land to the Table. I'm Jennifer Cody. Okay, well, here we are at the place where a lot of my cooking experience began, the New Deli in Pinole, California. And 22 years ago, my husband and I started this. We raised a family here practically, and I ended up writing a cookbook last year and put all the recipes that people really enjoyed from eating here, some extras too, in the cookbook, and thought, you know, now people want a cooking lesson, you know, live, so I thought, well, I'll get this cooking show going and people can learn a little more about the cooking that way.